Welcome to the Behind the Mic Show from the Cheap Seat Sports Bar and Grill in Champaign, Illinois. Presented by Ford of Tuscola. Now here's your hosts, Keith Gibson and Sam Erwin.
Welcome everybody to the Behind the Mic Show from the Cheap Seat Sports Bar and Grill. Your host as we are here every week, Keith Gibson alongside me, Sam Erwin, as we bring you a new episode of the Behind the Mic Show. And Sammy, we had a busy last week since our last show.
Ooh, did we not? Yeah, met up in Flora, got to go to the Flora Olney game, which was a great game. And we got to do a live podcast, which was fun, and got to do some play-by-play and some color commentary. It was awesome. I've always wanted to do that with you. I know you've done that many times. That was a first for me, and it was a lot of fun.
It was.
Sure, and a good game and a good environment. Beautiful night for football, and very impressed with what Flora has done with those facilities down there. Huge crowd.
Both sides.
Yeah, both sides. That place was full. The Booster Club, what they're doing down there is awesome. Just all around good night. We had some great sponsors that helped put that on, that we mentioned multiple times throughout. So that was really cool. We were able to give back, a portion of that to the Booster Club. I believe we're writing a check to them for $250. Is that right?
Correct. That's correct, sir.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah. So
it's
we had
nice
a great night.
down.
It was.
Yeah,
we had two great coaches on the show last week, Coach Music, Coach Tackitt. We got to talk to them too before and after the game. Two great guys, two great programs, and of course we'll have Coach Tackitt on again this week here after a bit. But busy weekend for me. Otherwise, a lot of work for me, and a little one. So I've been busy.
Boy, always something.
Always something. Hey, we got a big show planned though. We got a lot to talk about today, and some different topics, not just the hottest topics in sports like we do ever. We got some new topics to throw out, Sammy. We're going to talk about, is cheerleading a sport?
Something new and exciting. That's right. Yes.
We're going to talk about individual awards and team athletic events. And then we're going to talk about the Bears quarterback situation. Ooh. We'll talk a little college football as well. Your Gators a big win last weekend.
Yes, sir.
In Illini, not so much.
Oh, yet another loss.
Yeah. And then we'll talk a little bit of wrestling as well. The first Wednesday nights of the Wednesday Night Wrestling Wars. So we'll talk about that and dive in of what you thought and what I thought about AEW, NXT. And we'll also talk about a little Hell in the Cell, which happened
controversial.
Yeah, very
controversial.
We'll also welcome in Coach Brian Tackitt back to the show again this week for our Friday Night Mike segment. And then we're going to close the show with a little surprise for you, Daddy-O.
Oh, you've got a little something coming my way,
I do.
Oh, that'll be fun.
So that'll be fun. Sure. And we'll also give you all the full details later on the show about our big tailgate party this Saturday morning, Sammy, at Lot 47 Memorial Stadium for the Illini Michigan game. We're pumped. We're excited for it. And we'll give you full details here after a bit. We're going to take a break, listen to our presenting sponsor, Ford of Tuscola, hear from them. And then we'll be right back and hit our hottest topics and talk a lot of different ones today, right here on the Behind the Mic Show from the Cheap Seats Sports Bar and Grill.
Ford of Tuscola has a large lot full of new and pre-owned vehicles. Check out their great financing, friendly staff, and professional service center. To help you get the most from your next vehicle, make the short drive to Tuscola and find a great deal on your next car or truck.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Behind the Mic Show, Cheap Seat Sports Bar and Grill here in Champaign, Illinois. Your hosts, Keith Gibson and Sam Erwin, as we bring you some hot topics around sports, and not just the hottest topics in sports this week, Sammy. We're going to talk some hot topics. That's not a store, not clothing store either.
That's right. Does that still exist? I guess they do, don't they?
I think so. But, hey, a couple questions for you. This was thrown out. I know you threw it out to me and said, hey, you want to talk about this? And they say, why not? Is cheerleading a sport? And I know there's going to be some mixed reviews on this, Sammy.
Oh, right.
Most cheerleaders say, yes, it is a sport.
Yes.
And I say they're full of no sport.
Keith Gibson.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Explain yourself.
You want me to explain my side? Okay, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
I'm happy to.
Okay.
So, Sammy, and don't get me wrong, cheerleaders need to be athletic and in shape. They do. where is the sport at in it? Do you get a goal? Do you score? Do you get a ball? Do you get a puck? Do you get? I mean, what do you really do they cheer? Do they give you points for pom poms? No, I'm glad they're at events. I enjoy cheerleaders, love cheerleaders. But and you got to be athletic. They tumble a lot, do a lot of different things, go up in pyramids and things like that. But there's no sport to it. So they're great to be there. I mean, I know they have some competitions where they get judged against other cheerleaders.
So wouldn't that in turn make it a sport?
Okay, no, because what do they do any other time? They have what, 2 competitions a year, maybe 1?
I have no idea. I don't,
okay.
Yeah,
I know you weren't a cheerleader. I mean,
right.
You weren't a superstar.
That's right. Yeah.
But to me, no, I'm glad they're there. I think they're athletic. I love cheerleaders. So don't think I dislike cheerleaders. No, I love them. But I just don't think it's a sport, Sam.
Okay.
Your take.
You know what? I want to start this off by saying I think your deep-seated hatred goes back to whenever you were in high school and you asked out every cheerleader to homecoming and they told you no.
Maybe there's a little bit to that.
So you know what? I'm going to say this. Back when I was in high school and I thought, like I appreciate, like you said, I appreciate you being here, but I don't see the point. But you know what? Whenever I was, a teacher and when I became, principal athletic director, the amount of time, the amount of hours, the amount of work that those girls put in, it's just like any other team in my book. Now, is there a be-all, end-all to it? Are they competing against anybody? Most of the time, no. I mean, I understand that. But like you just said, they do have to be athletic. I'm betting you or I can't do a backflip right now. It's just a guess. I doubt we could with a trampoline. Probably break both our necks, even with a trampoline.
Hold on.
But
what is a backflip?
What's that?
What is a backflip?
What do you mean, what is a backflip?
That's right, because I've never tried one, and nor will I ever.
Right. I just don't see it happening. I don't know if we can even get off the ground anymore. But you see them do all sorts of things. And I remember in high school, whenever you'd see, like, whenever I was there, was like, Kara Warren, Alicia Vaughn, Beth Frost, just non-ending flips over and over and over and over and over. I'm like, my God, I could never do that with any amount of training. So like you said, they're very athletic. But is it a sport? No, it just depends on what you consider a sport. Does it have to involve a ball? Is it a competition? Do you have to be judged? There's a variety of things that, make it a sport. So, are they athletic? Does it take athleticism? Yes. Is it a sport? It's hard to say that it is a sport. And I know you got to duck whenever you say it around cheerleaders, but they are athletes. I will say that because they're far more athletic than I am.
So would you like to know the definition of sport, sir?
Yes. Give me a definition.
The definition of a sport is a noun.
Yes.
It's an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team competes against another team or others for entertainment.
Oh, well, that's cheerleading then.
But hold on here. They compete. On Friday nights, do they compete against another team? Or
against the other? Well, sometimes it can get pretty heated between those cheerleaders. Maybe they get to cheer off.
But what is the reward for it? And you have to have a winner and a loser in sport.
Friggin' pride, man. Bragging rights. That's worth more than any trophy.
I know people are going to say, oh, you hate cheerleaders. I don't hate cheerleaders. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Dallas Cowboy cheers. The only part of the Dallas Cowboys I enjoy.
Amen. Yes.
The Oakland Raider cheerleaders, the Laker girls. I love all them.
Right.
Some of them I can dance better than.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I don't see it as a sport, Sammy. But you're right. Don't get me wrong. They do put a lot of effort and a lot of time in to choreograph everything they do.
Now, have you ever been to one of those cheer competitions that they have?
Well, I tried once, but they told me I was a little creepy, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, get out. You don't belong here.
No, I've never have. I've watched them on ESPN.
Right.
It's pretty impressive how in time and everything they are. Yep. To me, now when I watch that, that's sport.
Right.
Because they're competing against others.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it as a whole is a sport.
Okay. All right. I can see both sides of it. So maybe sometimes it is a sport, but a lot of times it's not. It's just athleticism and, being supportive of a team.
Speaking of teams, that'll take us to our next topic today we want to talk about. There's been I read some things on Facebook recently, I think you did too, about individual awards for a team.
Right.
So in a team sport, Sammy, do you think it helps or hurts a team, because there's no I in team, we know that, but does it help or hurt to have individual awards for players on a team?
I think it really depends on the team and how close the kids are, because sometimes it can breed jealousy, of how come he won, I did all this, and then you don't really have a team at all. And then sometimes it can draw people together because they're rooting that person on. I mean, a perfect example we saw Friday night, the quarterback for Flora, he wins the award for MVP for Flora, which is great. But this kid, what's he do?
Oh,
he brings his lineman out, which was one of the smartest, classiest things. And this kid's a sophomore, smart, very smart, because those linemen appreciate. And he got his picture taken and basically gave the award to his lineman. So to me, that kid right there, he is the ultimate team player. Individual awards do not matter to him. I mean, we were fortunate enough to talk to the young man after the game. Humble, very approachable kid. That kid's got a bright, bright future. So when you see that, it's awesome. But once again, they tried to make it an individual award. He turned it into a group thing because he knows he does nothing without those five guys in front of him. But to me personally, whenever I coach football,
hey, kind of like you don't do anything without me and vice versa.
Right. We're nothing without each other.
That's right.
Yeah. But whenever I coach football and had the pleasure of coaching football and had some great players, I refuse to give out individual awards because it is a team sport. There is no MVP in football. There's just not. How you can't do your job without everybody else doing theirs. It's a team.
So
it is.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Why does the NFL give an MVP?
Because the NFL's trash.
So why why in college football then do they give a Heisman?
Agreed. And you know what? I've always said I would love to see one player one time. I was hoping maybe Tebow do it at a certain point, but it is the highest honor in all the land. But if they would just say, whenever they win it, say, you know what, I appreciate this, but I'm not accepting it because it's an individual award and I didn't get here without everybody else. But will you ever see that? I doubt it. Maybe someday. I don't know. But I just don't agree.
If we ever win an Emmy or anything like that, or an Oscar, or I don't know, if I ever win an award, I'll thank you.
You know what?
While I'm on stage accepting.
You're such a team player. I appreciate that. But no, seriously, in a team sport like that, if you're coaches and you're and all you preach is team, we're in this together, team, and then you give out an MVP award, it makes no sense to me whatsoever. None. Because everything that you've preached thus far is now gone because you just put the spotlight on one kid. I just don't agree with it.
On the other side of that, you got to think it also could bring guys, as you said, together and push them as well. Right. I don't have no problem with the individual awards during like the week. Say you have a guy that's really worked his tail off during the week. Give him something, give him a little, even a shout out or something that says, hey, great job this week. You did fantastic. And everybody can kind of gather around him and push that and feed off that.
Right.
MVP awards, I'm not big in MVP awards. Most valuable player? No. What about most important player? I like the MIP. Or most outstanding player, the MOP. Where they have to be valuable. Give them a mop. Because you're exactly right. It does, and especially in football, right? It does take an entire team to win,
right?
But then you look at basketball. That's not always the case,
right? It kind of depends on the sport, or like sometimes basketball for sure. I mean, I agree with you on that because one guy can just take over. It seems to be that way. You watch Michael Jordan do that how many times, just take over a game, and there are those that are kind of rise up above, and sometimes in baseball, you can see a pitcher just absolutely dominate a team sometime, and the guys in the field are doing nothing, and maybe it's only 1-0. He got no run support, so there are times we see that, but in football, as obviously I obviously love the sport. It's my favorite sport. but there is no way one person can just take over without the help of others.
No, I will
like
agree with you. In football, I agree with you 100% that you cannot have individual awards in football. I think you can have accolades.
Right.
But I think if we're talking awards, I don't think because a running back can't beat the most outstanding running back without a lineman blocking for him.
Right.
A wide receiver can't be an MVP because he's got to have a quarterback throwing for him.
Right.
A quarterback can't be MVP because he's got to have a line blocking for him.
Right. And if you break it down like that, like if you want to recognize people every week, I think we've seen Coach Tackitt do that, for instance, on the Flora Wolves page, is they will break down like special teams player of the week, lineman of the week, receiver of the, whatever. That's different. That's okay because it's like, okay, this position, this person was the best, let's say receiver of the week. Okay, if he had like 8, I get that. But just to do an overall MVP, I don't, because like the people that I was fortunate enough to play with, a Matt McGrew, he didn't get to catch many passes, but he blocked his ass off for Eric Major to run on the outside. Wes Turner beat himself to death blocking for him over and over and then play defensive end. Brian Lane, Lee Johnson, John Hurley, all these people break it. You know how many offensive lineman awards they got?
0.
And how much recognition they got? 0. Hey, thanks, guys, for blocking for me. I mean, maybe they got that, but they didn't get the recognition. Yeah, they may get,
You didn't buy them. You didn't buy them watches.
When you come from a broke family, that ain't happening. But no. Now, did they get like all conference honors at the end of the season? There were several people that did that, and rightly so. But the every week, acknowledgement, and sadly, that's the way it goes in a lot of sports. Is the quarterbacks get all the glory, or the running back or the wide receiver. The guys doing the work in the trenches just don't get the notice that they should.
You're exactly right. And they're one of my favorite. The old hog mollies up front don't get as much as they should. I mean, because they're the ones who work their tail off day in and day out, week in and week out, and make sure if they aren't a unit,
right,
then nobody's a unit.
That's right. If you don't win in the trenches, any coach will tell you that it all starts and ends there. If you can't block the run or if you can't tackle on defense right there on that line, you're going to get blown out. It's quite simple. Doesn't matter how much talent you got on the outside.
And I think we're in agreement that football is the one sport that's different from everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Take Mike Trout, for instance. Team's awful.
Right.
But the guy was probably the most impressive team in the American League this season.
Mm-hmm.
And he does it year in and year out. His team is awful. There's nothing around him.
Right.
So if you're going to give a most outstanding player or a most valuable player, whatever you want to do it, maybe that's him. Maybe. Mm-hmm. But baseball, you still have to pitcher. You have to have a guy who catches it, and you still got to score runs to win.
That's right.
So, I'm on both sides of the fence. It depends on what sport you're talking about. Soccer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah.
Well, they run a lot. They run a lot. Whoever scores the most goals wins.
Yeah, but it just takes me back to, like the way, Coach Martin coached us when we were in high school, and whenever I coached, the same way, and I know a lot of listeners out there, you preach team and you preach unity. And when you start singling people out, and then some people get butthurt because maybe their kid was singled out a week or so, early on, but they haven't got any recognition later on. That's where it gets kind of like, is this really worth it in the grand scheme of things? If people are going to start getting angry because their kid doesn't get noticed every week, maybe you try to spread it out, God forbid, and give, notice to other kids that have earned it.
Sometimes you maybe not give the award to a kid who deserves it as much as a kid who maybe you may help. Mm-hmm. Oh, they're coming. I hear them. They're coming after. I hear those sirens, Sammy. They're coming after you.
Watch out. That's right.
Hide the Coke. Anyway, no kidding. But maybe you're giving it to a guy who's you've seen improvement in and needs that little boost.
Right.
A little bit of self-esteem more, and it's going to even make it even bigger. As a coach, that can make it even more of an impact than sometimes giving it to a guy who everybody knows is doing great things.
Oh, right. Well, and every coach knows you've got your superstars that are great every week, every day. They're just athletically gifted. Maybe they're hard-nosed. They are your superstars. You know that. But then there's those other kids that without them, the team doesn't exist. You got to have more than just superstars. And there's those kids that are kind of the gel, that hold people together. Maybe it's not necessarily based on athletic ability. Maybe they're just a good kid that kind of keeps people together, keeps it funny. You've got this all, as you know, you've coached some baseball team. You got to have that great mixture. And once again, a team.
Right.
That's what wins championships, is a team. An individual does not win.
Defense wins championships.
Defense wins, right. And you never hear a linebacker wins championships, do you? You hear defense. That's 11 people on football. Right.
Thank you for everybody who didn't know how many players were on a defense side of football. 11.
We may have some people out there that don't.
Moving on, let's keep talking a little bit about football here. The Bears, Sammy, played in London last week against the Raiders and made John Gruden and the Raiders look really good.
Oh, wow.
Chase Daniel's not the answer. Mitchell Trubisky's out with a separated shoulder and partially torn labrum. Khalil Mack was getting double teamed a lot.
Yeah, right.
And nobody else decided to show up because the Raiders ran for a lot. Josh Jacobs ran the ball down their throats. David Carr didn't turn the ball over. The Raiders just played a good game. Now, they almost blew it. Don't get me wrong. They were up, 21-7 or something like that. But Eddie keeps kicking the football well.
Boy, yeah, at least they've got Eddie, right? But so if you're the Bears, I mean, you about got to be in panic mode, right? You really need to start looking.
I don't think you're in panic mode yet. I really don't. You're 3-2.
You just lost to the Raiders.
Yeah, but the Raiders really aren't a bad ball club. They aren't.
Yeah.
They aren't great, but they aren't bad. I mean, what I saw, Josh Jacobs ran the ball hard. They've got a decent line. If you can do that in the NFL, because everybody's playing pass now, if you can run the ball, you're all right.
And Gruden's old school, so that's a pass-happy thing he don't care about. He's going to do it his way.
Right.
So, yeah.
I don't think the Raiders, after watching that game, I didn't think they were that bad. Honestly, now I think there's better teams in the NFL. But if you're the Bears, you've got to figure out a way of moving Khalil Mack around where he can't get double-teamed every single play. He is too great of a player to have to fight double teams constantly.
Right. Or you need that person on the other side to really start creating havoc to where they can't double team him as well. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're going to have that Roquan Smith or, Leonard Floyd or somebody step up. So, Bears got a lot of things to think about here this week and see where they go.
Well, let me ask you something real quick. If you're the Chicago Bears, because if Chase Daniel gets hurt, who's the backup?
Sam Erwin?
Ooh, for a certain amount, I'd probably do it. Probably not much, and then get killed real quick and then come back home. But anyway, but obviously we don't know who that is. So if you're the Bears, do you maybe spend a late round pick or something like that to get an old salty veteran? I mean, I bet Eli Manning might be pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Think about it, because that kid, and by the way, those of you that listened early on when we started this podcast, we made fun of the Giants for picking that Jones kid.
We did.
And we were wrong about that kid's a superstar. It's like,
we were like, what are the Giants doing? What are they thinking?
And that might be why we're sitting on our couches and the Giants are making the picks. So
I don't sit on couches.
Well, yeah,
I stand at a bar, sir.
Right. But so that obviously makes Eli expendable. Now, I mean, I don't know. And
I think that's something you'd have to look at.
It doesn't hurt to have a quality backup just in case. Doesn't mean he comes in and plays, just to have him, because if Chase Daniel goes down, you got literally nothing. At least Eli has the experience to come in, and with that defense, maybe. I mean, it's just something to think about, because Chase Daniel's obviously not the answer.
Yeah, I agreed. He's a game manager, but even then, he threw a pick late in the game last week that I was to absolutely no one that I could have picked off. Well, maybe. Let's talk college football a little bit here, Sammy. Your Gators, a big win over Auburn Saturday.
Oh, that was beautiful. Yes.
So Auburn, though, a very improved ball club from preseason ranked number 17. I think they're going to cause havoc down the rest of the season. I really do. Yes. I was impressed.
Yes, they are a good team. They are a good team. They got a young quarterback, and I always, to be honest with you, I feel sorry for freshman quarterbacks that come into the swamp when it's packed like that, because it is so friggin' loud and it's just pretty intense. And Florida has a really good defense. That's the first kind of real defense he's went up against, and it showed. I mean, they made him look like a freshman, and that's what won. And I shared a video with you. Maybe we could share that on the Cheap Seats, Facebook page.
Yeah.
But just the roar on that.
You should.
Run.
You should
88
share that on
yards.
there.
Yeah,
Because
maybe we'll.
I was impressed of how loud that roar was.
Right. Yeah. And if if you ever get the chance to go watch a game in the Swamp, a big game like that, how loud that crowd gets, it's incredible. It really is.
You know where you don't hear roars?
What's that?
You know where you don't hear roars?
I'm gonna go with U of I.
Memorial Stadium.
Right. Who'd they lose to this week?
Minnesota. Now Minnesota's undefeated.
Oh, they are. Really?
They are.
I didn't realize that. Wow.
Lovey's on the hot seat.
Imagine that. Yeah, it ought to be pretty hot.
Yeah, it's pretty inferno right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think depending on Saturday's game, which we'll be tailgating at, ladies and gentlemen, Lot 47, Memorial Stadium, right off St. Mary's Road. We'll be out there at 7 a.m.
By the way, Keith, did you see the weather reports for this weekend?
Yes, the low Friday night, Sammy, is 39 degrees. The high is going to be 54.
Yeah.
So, by the way, if anybody plans on coming, I'm still looking. I had a generator lined up, and I don't have one. So if anybody has a generator we can borrow, let us know quickly.
Surely Doug has every other tool.
Chad doesn't have one. I asked him already.
What? Oh, wow. Can't believe it.
So I'm looking for a generator for Saturday morning so we can plug in some crock pots and some audio and things. But the one I had broke, so we're going to have to find something. But I'll figure something out. We'll get it done.
Right.
But, yes, Sammy, as Bosco says, he's coming in layers.
Oh, yeah.
He said, because I can always take it off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, we're going to be it's going to be early morning Bloody Marys, maybe some Crown salted caramel, some Crown peach. It's gonna be a good day.
Well, Lori's we're gonna bring some donuts and bagels for everybody who want to come and have breakfast with us. We'll have some donuts and bagels. We'll have some dogs and burgers throughout the day. If you're coming in, bring a side dish that you can share with everybody, whether it's cookies, chips, whatever you want to bring. If you want to make a snack up, bring it. So everybody can munch on. Your own bring your cooler. As my wife said, and came up with this, I was pretty proud of her. Bring a cooler, bring a chair, and bring a side to share.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
The lyrical miracle's rubbing off on her.
Yeah, not as good as faux hawks, tight shirts, and small hands. But
let's not talk about that. But no, we're excited. I think it'll be a good time Saturday. But back to the Illini Loveys on the hot seat. They got Michigan Saturday. Michigan barely beat Iowa last week, but they won.
Iowa's always tough, though. They always play Michigan tough, seems like.
They do. They do. So I'm anxious to see which Illini team comes out. Is it going to be the one that lays an egg, or is it going to be a game that gives Michigan a run?
What's your prediction?
I think it'll be tight in the first half, and then Michigan will pull away. I think it's whew. You know what? You're going to have to tune in Saturday morning to find out what I think. That's what I think.
Fair enough. Yep.
But anyway, so a lot of college football. We're looking forward to the tailgate party. I could see you 2 weekends in a row.
How about it? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to see you for like 3 months. It's okay. We need a break.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. No kidding. And once we get done with the tailgate, I'll stick around for a while. But Florida plays LSU at 6:00 that night.
I got to play. I know where we can watch that at.
That's right. We will be perhaps, at the
cheap seats. Yes.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, that'll be a big game. That'll be a fun game. Yeah, my plan is to be there for like an hour and a half after the game, after it gets over, get everything loaded up back here to the house. And
now, what time are we starting the podcast?
Probably I'd say, I don't know, 9-ish. I don't know. We haven't even talked about that yet, but get in, get our donuts, get our breakfast, get a couple drinks in, and we'll have a special guest Saturday, Sammy.
That's right.
The world heavyweight champion is going to join us on the podcast.
Downtown Bosco.
That's right.
Yep.
So excited. We'll have T-shirts there. Got a few extra hats left, Sammy. Not many.
Oh, those
are selling like hotcakes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
We'll have our magnets, of course, there. We'll have some few giveaways as well. So stop by and see us, Lot 47 off St. Mary's Road there here in Champaign. I know Ryan Martin's coming. He's going to bring some stuff to eat, too, as well. I heard Delaney's are coming.
I think we're going to have quite a few people there. I got some people that live in Paducah that's going to be coming.
Boy.
I think it's going to be a pretty good turnout.
Throw the football around, play a little cornhole, listen to some music. We're going to have a good time.
It's going to be a good day.
Yep. So, anyway, all right, last thing we'll talk about here in our first opening segment here. Let's talk about the Wednesday night wars in wrestling. Week 1 of it last week. AEW premieres on TNT. We had NXT on USA. We had Raw. We had Friday Night SmackDown debuting on Fox. And then Hell in a Cell Sunday. What a week of wrestling, Sammy.
Oh, huge. I mean, one of the biggest weeks in wrestling ever.
Right.
You know, with everything that premiered and everything that's changing and the buzz around wrestling. As I predicted on Wednesday night that AEW would have a higher rating than NXT, I think that was
pretty much a given. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a given because it's new. You know, it's new, and it's nothing against NXT. Plus, I don't think that I don't know if anybody saw like what was like DVR'd or anything like that because that counts into it because a lot of people watched AEW live and then recorded NXT. But Raw was it was I mean, there was some high spots, of course. And then there were some that just made no sense. AEW, I did watch quite a bit of that. I don't get it. I don't really see the buzz yet. It's not terrible or anything like that, but it's not like, oh my God, I just got to watch it. What are your thoughts on AEW thus far?
Well, I think I text you because I was sitting there and working on some things for the show last Wednesday, and I was watching it live. And I think I texted you and you said, how good is it? And I said, I think this was like first hour into the show. I said I'd give it a D.
Ooh,
now I can be rough on wrestling. I can.
Right. You're critical. You are. You're highly critical.
Yeah, I am. Because sometimes you got to make things that make sense. I wasn't impressed. I think there were a lot of choreographed things. They were trying almost to do too much. I feel like if they just let it flow.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to do
right. It's all planned out ahead. It's all planned out ahead of time. They're not working it in the ring like Stone Cold always talks about how you need to call it in the ring. Let me give you my interpretation. Cody Rhodes, who's like the basically one of the main guys, is wrestling some panda boy. I don't know who he is, but he's wearing like a panda hat to the ring, which I'm like, it's too cartoonish for me, but whatever. But they wrestled, and I mean, they're beating each other to death. All these high spots and flip-flops around and a lot of, 1, 2, oh, he kicks out again, a lot of that. So the crowd's up. Oh, my God, all these false finishes and all that. So you try to kill each other, and none of that works. And then how does Cody Rhodes win? A schoolboy. Rolls him, and I'm like, wait a minute. You guys just killed each other on moves that should have just killed most humans, and that didn't work. But you could roll somebody up a schoolboy, get the win. And I'm like, no. One
thing I will say, the difference between the crowd at AEW and that show last week. Now, I know it was episode 1. I mean, and they're coming to Champaign December 4th.
Right.
They were in town last Thursday as well. Cody Rhodes, MJF. Now, MJF I like.
Yeah, I like him. Yeah.
He's a great heel.
Yes, he is.
And we're going to talk about more about that. I think we're going to try to get the guys together doing a Chumps and Champs podcast.
Yeah,
I think we have a lot to talk about. But I just didn't get it didn't do anything for me. But the crowd, back to that, the crowd was hot all night long.
Oh, yeah.
You watched that crowd compared to a WWE crowd.
Right.
Total different, two separate crowds.
Right. And like, for instance, the NXT, now you got to talk, AEW had 14,000 people, right? They were in a big arena. NXT still had a very hot crowd, but they only had 1,200 people because they did it in that basically like a studio,
right?
Down at Universal Studios, wherever it's at, Full Sail University. Yeah, right. So much smaller crowd, but NXT to me, whenever I watch, now granted I know more of those wrestlers, but NXT, much better wrestling, much better characters so far. Now granted they've been doing it for a while too, so AEW's still early, it's still working its way up, and if nothing else, like I said, it pushes, like we've talked. It pushes WWE to maybe provide a better product.
It has already, too, I think.
Yeah. And NXT it's actually really, really good. I like NXT a lot.
I do, too. I think it's the best show they put out there right now.
I agree. Yes, I agree.
Now, let's talk about SmackDown. Your boy, The Rock, made a special appearance Friday night on Fox for Friday Night SmackDown on their debut. Is that just a waste of money anymore?
God, no. Did you see the ratings they got?
Yeah, it doesn't do anything for me.
Oh, man.
Because here's why. You put him in the ring with Becky Lynch and Baron Corbin. You're going to bring The Rock back. Put him in the ring with somebody who actually makes sense.
Right. Well, I think what they were doing there was, once again, putting Becky Lynch in the spotlight and giving her, as they call, the rub, because she's standing there with the great one and she's the man. And if you watch the promo, he's putting her over big time, which I'm like, she even did one of his catchphrases and I'm like, oh my God, whatever. But she is one of the faces of WWE right now, whether you like it or not. And Baron Corbin, he was able to kind of go toe-to-toe with him, which I think helps him. Granted, they beat him up a little bit.
I like Corbin.
I do too. He's a great heel. Perfect heel. Perfect. But either way, the reason why they did that, and you know it as well as I do, they wanted people to be tuned in for that first episode of Friday Night SmackDown, and it worked like a charm. I have no idea what they paid that man. I'm guessing it was a lot for him to, out of his busy schedule, to come there, but well worth it because their ratings were through the roof. So now, will SmackDown continue that? No, they won't get that, but it's good to have that and going forward because it tuned a lot of new eyes to the product that maybe never watched wrestling before.
Your thoughts on Lesnar winning the title so quickly over Kofi?
Sometimes I don't understand why they do. I guess you want to make him look dominant, but Brock doesn't need any help in that. You could have still helped Kofi look pretty good and at least put up a little bit of a fight, but that match lasted, 10 seconds?
Maybe, tops.
Yeah.
And then Cain Velasquez comes out.
Right, which he
with
is
his dad bod and gimp leg.
Right, but he is a legit badass who actually beat Brock Lesnar about half to death.
Right.
In MMA. However, in wrestling, it helps to look good too. And I'm like, okay. But once again, he's a MMA guy that brings eyes to the product. And I'm not sure what that leads to with him and Brock. And of course, Kane has been training to be in professional wrestling too.
Right.
Just needs to hit the gym because he did look bad. He looked rough. And I'm like, But it got people to look at the product. So overall, I think it was a big success for them in terms of getting eyes, and they got a great rating. And by the way, their entrance ramp is one of the coolest things.
That is
cool. Wow. Yeah. So
we didn't have that.
We did not.
We didn't have the revenue or funds for that.
We did not. That's correct. Yes.
But let's talk about let's finish the segment with talk about Hell in a Cell. A lot of backlash for Hell in a Cell because of the ending of the show. Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, who we've talked about a lot, and he is creepy. That entrance is creepy. Yeah. Red light during the main event.
Yeah. What'd you think of that?
I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, I kind of liked it, but then it got old.
Right.
It's like, are we developing pictures here? Or,
right.
It's like, I get it. We're in hell, but still. So, yeah.
But you can't end Hell in a Cell in a disqualification again.
I didn't understand that. And, and here's – and like I told you, I think I texted this to you. It would have been totally different if you'd have had the Fiend – beat up Rollins so bad that they stopped the match or disqualified him because it was so brutal. So
right.
Because he's
that would make sense.
Nobody would have had an issue with that at all. Or like if he beat him up so bad to where he couldn't even get up and then the lights go out and the Fiend disappeared and he's just gone. Didn't care about the title. He just wanted to beat him half to death. Nobody would have cared. That would have been fine. But the way they did it, I mean, and yeah, they made the Fiend eventually look like, a monster because he came up out of that. But still, it did not go well with wrestling fans. They got brutalized for it.
They were chanting AEW on a WWE pay-per-view at the end of the night. That's not good.
Now, here's my question. Yes, they were chanting that, but this is once again the hypocrisy of wrestling fans. They chant AEW, but then what happened Wednesday night? Jon Moxley came in on Kenny Omega and interfered in a match, and no disqualification. The ref was looking right at it and just let it go. I'm like, I guess that doesn't matter. So it's like you complain about WWE, but it's okay to do it in AEW. It's like,
well, I think fans are getting tired of the same stuff in WWE.
Right.
NXT is different. That's why it's becoming successful, is because they don't pull this bull at the end of shows. They
Yep. Whereas AEW had a big close to their show where everybody's in the ring going nuts. They introduced a new guy that came in.
Jack Swagger.
Swagger came in the ring, but yeah, I don't know, man. WWE really that was actually a really
they dropped the ball.
They did. It was a really good pay-per-view, and then they ruined it at the end with why they did that, and then they didn't even hardly address it on Monday night. If you watched Raw, terrible. The whole show.
I wasn't awake that long.
It was awful. You missed nothing. And now they've got the draft coming up. That's part of it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. They didn't want to push any storylines, but whatever. But yeah, they kind of ruined it because the Fiend was. I don't understand the thought process of what they were doing. I just don't get it. So,
well, it'll be interesting to see where they go with the draft coming up on Friday night SmackDown on Fox and then on Raw next week as well. So I'm sure we'll talk about that next week as well, Sammy. And maybe we'll get old Shane Stone Cypher and Narge back together, and we will do a Champs and Chubs because we have a lot to talk about here.
Yes, we do. It's been a while.
Because you know what's coming up is Crown Jewel on October 31st for WWE, and then it's Survivor Series.
That's right. One of the favorites. Yeah.
Yes, one of the big four. So we're going to take a quick break here from our sponsor, Bees Trees. Why, Sammy? Because if you've got bushes around your deck and they're growing out and getting big, what do you need to do, Sammy?
Well, you got to trim them.
Why?
And why do you got to trim? Why you got to trim them, Keith?
Because it makes your deck look bigger.
Exactly. Exactly right.
But if you got storm damage, if you got any storms that come through, we got some branches hanging down, you got some tree limbs that are getting out of hand, give Greg Miller a call. Great guy, takes care of all of me, and a great sponsor and a great friend of the show. So give Greg a call, and he'll help you out. But we'll be right back after this.
And you know what, Keith? You know what? Nobody likes an unkempt bush. You got to trim those bushes up. You really do. Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Anyway, all right. We're going to take a quick break and be right back here on the Behind the Mic show from the Cheap Seats Sports Bar and Grill.
Bees Trees, your local IHSA certified arborist with over 10 years experience, specializing in tree removal, tree trimming, and with free estimates. Call Greg Miller of Bees Trees today at 217-260-4551.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Behind the Mic show. Keith Gibson, Sam Erwin here with you as we are every week, and we welcome you to our Friday night mic segment here from the Cheap Seat Sports Bar and Grill, and we welcome in Flora Wolves head coach back for the 7th straight week. He hasn't deserted us yet. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Brian Tackitt. Coach Tackitt, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, I won't desert you guys. I'm with you.
Oh, good. We like that. Now, I like dessert. Don't get me wrong.
Not that dessert.
Tough one last week at home for homecoming with the Tigers. Coach Tackitt, we were there as you know, and everybody can work. I'm working on getting that game up on the website as well, so everybody can hear the play-by-play that Sam and I did, and you can re-listen to the game. But Olney Tigers were quite impressive. Coach Music and his guys were pretty good.
Oh, yeah, they're a good team. We knew they were going to be, and probably we thought probably one of our biggest challenges of the year, and on both sides of the ball. They play well, offensively, and, we talked about that last week, but they're really, really good defensively team as well, too, and special teams, and, just every aspect of the game. They're well coached, got a lot of good athletes, and good team.
The Tigers coach kind of set the tone early in the ball game. A 3-play, 69-yard drive in 31 seconds, put the first score on the board. And that. How did you guys react? I know that's quick.
Yeah, we told the guys before the game that they probably, the coin toss. They won the coin toss and they wanted the ball. So a lot of times, a lot of teams today defer, but that tells you a lot right there. That they wanted the ball, they wanted to put points up on the board, and they're going to try and do it as quickly as they could. So we were prepared mentally for that, just didn't execute. And the kids rebounded really well, though. I thought we put a really, really good drive back at them there at our first possession to tie the game 7-7.
You did,
yeah. Now, when we talked to Coach Music, of course, last week. Keith and I both agreed that after that interview, that there was a definite quiet confidence about Coach Music and his offense. He felt really good about where they were at, and it showed, especially in the first half. But in that opening drive, it was just bang, 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 and touchdown. We're like, uh-oh. But you guys answered with a beautiful drive, just exactly like we talked about on the podcast last week, of what your plan was to eat the clock, run it right at them, and it worked to perfection. And 7-7, and Keith and I were like, "Ooh, we got a ball game. Okay, this may turn out all right." And then of course it got a little bit out of hand in the first half. And maybe some squib kicks, and an onside kick that you guys tried, which sometimes you take a chance, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it gave them some short fields. Looking back, was that kind of the plan going in, that you were going to try some squib kicks and onside kicks to try to maybe take the momentum away from them, maybe get up on them early?
Well, the squib kicks is what we wanted. We didn't really necessarily want the onside kick, and we worked on squib kicks in practice, and Blaine Dickey was our usual kicker, but he was hurting out. So, we did want an onside kick there, but we did want to squib and try to keep it away from their athletes. They're pretty well. The week before they opened the game against Marshall with a kickoff return, so it was something that we were aware of. We rather have taken the good squib kick down the middle and try to sacrifice maybe some field position for not giving up the big play.
Right.
Now coming back, Coach, they did take I think it was 27-7 lead at half.
Yep.
And that's tough. That's the biggest deficit you guys had faced all year long. But you look at that second half. That was I don't know what adjustments you made in the locker room as a defensive coordinator, or what Coach Warren or Coach Carmody or anybody said in that locker room. It was a completely different Flora Wolves team in the second half. I mean, you guys outplayed them in the second half, hands down.
Yeah, I thought we did too. Defensively, really, only real adjustment we did was we tried to adjust from a 3-man to 4-man front a little bit, and give them a little bit different look, so they just didn't know what we were in before they came to the line. And they're really, really good at executing, and if they know what's coming at them, so we tried to surprise them a little bit. But the big kickoff return by Jared Sutton set us up well there and kind of got some life into us. And we didn't score on that drive, I don't think, but put some life back into the sidelines. And the kids just basically what we talked about at halftime was just don't get embarrassed. You're at home, and right now it's 27-7. Don't lay down, because if we do, we knew Olney was going to go for the 40 and running clock and shorten the game. And I don't blame any coach for wanting to do that. You want to keep your kids healthy, and the best way to do that is get that clock rolling. So we just told the kids, look, don't go out there and get embarrassed. Go out there and play hard. And I think the last thing I told them was just let's go out and win the third quarter. We win the third quarter and put yourself in a position where maybe in the fourth quarter we can do something. And we did win the third quarter 7-0. I wish it would have been 14-0, because we had a chance to score late down there too in the third quarter, make it a one-possession game. But hey, kids came out, played hard, and it shows a lot about their character.
It does, and we talked about that on the broadcast that we did of how the kids came out and fought, which is a testament to the kids and the coaching staff to get them to come out and do that. The question I have is, how much sleep did you lose? Maybe I was going to say Friday night, but maybe the whole weekend on those missed opportunities, because you guys got down in the red zone at least 3 times and weren't able to capitalize on that. So how do you look back at this game of because we both said Flora should have beat these guys. They had them, and you just couldn't quite get in that end zone. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I know for a fact I saw 2 a.m. Saturday morning. So
right.
Yeah. There was some thinking going on there, but
thinking.
Deep thinking. But we had our opportunities, and we just got to take those opportunities, learn from them, and take them into this week, and just learn how to capitalize on them. But I think it shows the type of team we are. We're a good team that we can create those opportunities against a very good team like Olney. We just got to learn how to capitalize on them, and you just get this feeling that if we start capitalizing inside the red zone, how good we could be.
Yeah, I agree totally. But I do, Sam mentioned too about it earlier. We were talking about it in our opening segment, Coach. One of the classiest things that we both saw Friday night was after the game was over. And the Shriners were giving out awards. Your quarterback, Jace Helm, was named the Shriners MVP for the Wolves.
Yep. And
did one of the classiest things that we have seen. Sam, what did he do?
He actually brought his starting lineman out and basically accepted the award with them. And I said, 1, classy, 2, very smart. That kid is far smarter than any sophomore that I've ever met. So, I mean, your thoughts on that?
Well, he knows that there's only one senior on that offensive line, so 80% of those guys are going to be back next year, and the sixth lineman is going to be back next year too. So you keep those guys happy because they got to protect them again next year too. But Jace, a smart kid. He's probably mature beyond his age of a sophomore. So it's good to see a kid like that realize that, he had a couple of nice throws for touchdowns.
Oh, beautiful.
Well, that one to Michael.
Oh, that was pretty. Yeah.
He knows that that's not possible if he doesn't have the time and the protection to do so. And he is very thankful of those guys and appreciative of them.
Well, let me ask you something here, Coach. Yep. Obviously, you know, we've talked multiple times. I played the position. I like to throw the ball everywhere, you know. So in saying that, in watching the first half, okay, it was, I think, kind of basically sticking to an offensive plan, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. But then you see this young quarterback who, you know, I mean, so young but so talented. This kid is talented, to say the least, and he's tough. He can take the hits. He can make the throws. And in the second half, because, you know, why the hell not? You know, you kind of opened it up a little bit, spread it out a little bit, and kind of put the game in his hands. And he rose to the occasion. So my question for you is, I know you're the defensive juggernaut, and you definitely showed that in the second half, because your defense, bless their hearts, they had a short field to go against a lot of times, but the second half, great defensive job. But going forward with a young, great quarterback like this who has, you know, a high ceiling, are you going to start maybe opening up the offense a little bit more going forward to where it's not so run heavy and kind of put some more on his shoulders?
Yeah, you know, I think at the beginning of the year, we really loved our offensive line, and we thought that was a strength for us. And you got a kid like Jace coming in that had never, you know, played too much at the varsity level, other than maybe a handful of snaps as a freshman. So I think, you know, I think obviously it was, you know, let's try to win games on the ground, and you hear him talk a lot about, like, just the quarterback that manages the games at the pro level, you know, and help him get warmed up to the Friday night speed of the game and all that stuff. So, but yeah, you're right. I mean, I think Jace, you know, showed last Friday he's very capable of throwing the ball. I remember how many times he threw the ball, 18, 20 times, something like that last Friday. But, you know, it's not that we didn't have confidence in him. It's just that you really, really worry about the mind of a young kid, and you don't want to ruin somebody. So, you know, as we go along, I think it's something that we as coaches got to really think about is letting the kid sling the ball around a little bit and go back to 1994, number 17.
I tell you what, I told Keith this. I said, me as a sophomore, not even close to this kid. This kid is composed. I mean, he looked like a senior out there playing. And I think a lot of that, like you talked about when we talked earlier, you know, in the earlier podcast of, you know, being coached by his dad, being kind of shown the ropes, really helped prepare him for that. And then what you guys have done at the high school level. But yeah, I mean, you talk and I think you did the right thing as you're talking about is bring him along slowly, because you show him too much early and boy, the mind goes and man, now he'll never be worth a damn. But I think we did it right bringing him along. So
Coach Carmen does a good job of adding plays each week and kind of making the game plan a little bit more complex. So, you know, as we go along, you'll see more from him. And he's, you know, we talk about him on the football field, but he's just as mature and good of a kid off the field too. He was a great kid in the classroom. So he's got a lot going for him. He's got a bright future.
Well, we got to talk to him a little bit after the game before we were leaving Dancy Field Friday night. And kid plays hard, tough, but very approachable. I think, Sam, that's the word you use, very approachable and well-spoken.
Very humble.
And very humble. Yeah. So we were very impressed with him. But, you know, very impressed with your entire team, Coach. That's the first time that we've actually got to be around those guys, and they played hard. And I couldn't be more proud walking out there Friday night, even though it wasn't a win, knowing that I'm an alumni and Sam was an alumni and we were there, and seeing the crowd that was there and everybody in their orange and blue, it made me feel really proud to know that the program you're building this year it may have taken a little while, but the program you're building has got that reaction going, and you can just feel it in town of the pride that's going on right now.
And the JV's still undefeated, correct?
Well, they lost last night to Alney 28-22.
Oh, man. And once again, another hard-fought game. So, yes, the future is definitely bright. And what I was impressed with, too, was the crowd, even though it was 27-7.5, nobody left. Yeah. Nobody left. Everybody stuck around. They stayed there, and then it got louder and louder as the comeback was coming on. I'm like, ooh, boy, you know, it's getting close. We're maybe one possession game. So it was that. Were you surprised? I did want to ask you one thing.
Yeah.
Alney's up by 2 touchdowns, and I know their offense is built a certain way. Were you surprised that Sweet Chin Music was still throwing the ball when he didn't have to at all, because Johnson ended up getting a big-time interception down by the goal line? And I thought with the game Dorn was having, I thought I even said that. I said I wouldn't even put the ball in the air. There's no reason to. Eat the clock, run it out, but maybe they're just built a certain way that's what they do. But were you surprised that he was still throwing the ball around at that point?
No, not really. I mean, it's what they do. I mean, as far as that's what their offense is based around. They kind of set up the run with a good pass. So that didn't surprise me, but at the same time, I thought that it was good for us. I mean, because the Dorn kid probably just runs the clock out and shuts the door on us. But it's probably our best way to get back into the game was to get a pick there, and we were sitting back in coverage and trying to apply a little bit of pressure. So it was a good move for us.
So the loss to Olney sent you back a little bit, 4-2. Now you got Newton this week, Coach. Week 7. The Eagles are always tough. They're 4-2 as well. So another big week. What do we know about Newton, and what do we expect to see here?
Well, we set ourselves up well for this, last third of the season, and we knew Olney was going to be a tough game, and one that we could achieve, but it was going to be tough, and we had to get as many wins as we could get early on in the year. So, 4-2 versus 4-2. You don't have to tell high school football fans the importance of this game because one walks off with a 5th win and playoff qualified. So, Newton is a good team, and they've had a lot of kids that they've graduated the last few years. Very, very good teams. I mean, Newton's a team a few years ago, I think went to the 3rd round, maybe in Class 3A. It's a big accomplishment. So even though they've graduated a lot of kids, the kids in that program are still in a very proud program that knows how to win. And some of those kids were younger on those teams. So for us just to say that, they got a big turnover of talent and they're a little bit, younger now, it's just a very good program, and they know how to win. They're proud. So, we feel like we've got a good shot to go in there. We've seen them on film now, and they still do a lot of the same things that they've done the last few years. So it's not like there's any surprises from them.
Are they still pretty much just a run heavy, run it right at you team?
Yeah, they are. They high formation a lot, and they'll pull guards and tackles, and they do take shots downfield. They like to do the 1 or 2 step drop back and chuck the ball deep to try and keep you honest. And now Newton's got a great track program, so they got fast kids, and they put those fast kids on the edges, and they'll run, and then take a shot deep down vertically to try and keep you honest. So it's the same thing we've seen on film this year that we've seen in years past. So
speaking of, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, speaking of fast, how's Bush King? How's the shoulder?
He is good. Saturday morning, his mom got a hold of me, and we think it's probably just like a stinger, and I think we may have talked about it too, or I did with somebody. He's the one that broke his collarbone last year, so I think there's a lot of anytime he got discomfort there, I think he was scared that maybe he'd lost his season again. But he practiced today, and he was a full go. So on the injury report, he's probable and like 99.9% probable.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I like the probable. I'm always probable.
Day to day.
I'm either probably eating or sleeping, one of the two. So big game, and I know you don't like to look ahead, but you do have Newton. If we get past Newton, that's a big win. I mean, the winner of this game this Friday night pretty much sets himself up in good position for a playoff. Because you look at points and stuff right now, Coach, it's probably going to take 6.
Yeah. We knew that at the beginning of the year, and last year Casey was 5-4 in our conference and didn't get in, so. We knew from the very start that as far as getting to the playoffs was going to be probably going to be 6. So, but you're right. Whoever gets 5 this Friday is set up really, really well, and the one that doesn't's got to probably have to win out.
Well, Keith, like I've said from day one since we've had Coach Tackitt on here, it's just important to take it week to week. Don't look ahead. Don't look at playoffs.
Yeah.
Just take it week to week.
When I've been wanting to look ahead, like down the road, and talk about playoffs, you've been the one that keep me level-headed.
Yeah, I really am, and that's why I'm happy to be here, is just to keep you level-headed and on the right track. Yeah, never look ahead. That's right.
If we do make it there, Sammy, it's due to you keeping me level-headed and keeping
that's
focused.
Right. You know what? And you know what? When you do, your big sports awards at the end of the year, I do hope there's some kind of plaque as like #1 fan or inspirational role model or something like that.
Gee, it's getting deep on this show tonight. Mercy, Coach. But you did run the ball a lot last week. That's been your bread and butter all year. Your backs have really done a great job. I tell you what, you're mixing some newer backs too, taking some of the load off Grant, which has been great because he has been a workhorse for you, getting the bulk of the carries.
Yeah.
You're probably
he plays hard.
He does.
God,
he runs the ball hard. Hayden Gibson
Yes.
runs the ball hard. I like that kid just because of the last name. But Drew Howard
only
ran the ball
successful
hard.
Gibson in sports in the history of Clay County.
Make sure we mention that every podcast. Yep.
That's right.
Thank you. The one name we threw out a lot last week was Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yes.
Played great defensively in there a lot of times. And then the other name we threw out quite a bit was one of your linebackers. I'm drawing a complete blank right now, Sammy. 54.
Silverback.
Oh, Landon back. Landon back, yeah.
Landon back. Landon played a great game defensively from the linebacker position last week, in a lot of tackles, filling a lot of holes. We were very impressed with both the way those guys played. We wanted to make sure we gave them a shout out tonight for that.
Yeah. Yeah, Landon, first, he's playing out there with a broken finger, and he made a lot of tackles for us, and he had to run a lot of those guys down along the sideline to save scores, and had a big pick for us too, and he does a nice job back there at safety. And the other one, Landon, I tell you what, sometimes on field level as a coach, it's hard to see what's going on in there in the middle, and I go back and I watch film. In the last 2 weeks in film, I've made a point to mention just how well he's played, because there's a time I know he had two linemen on him. He splits them and makes a tackle, and
he's a beast, man.
He is.
He's the name Silverback.
Yeah, and he's a kid that we had at DN last year, and when we made a switch, he just something flipped. Just it resonated with him, and he's been a different player ever since then. And
what grade is he? What grade is he?
He's a junior.
Oh, man, you guys are going to be really friggin' good next year. I'm excited about that.
Week to week.
Yeah, I know, but still, I've said that. Yeah, don't look ahead. We've talked about this. Don't look ahead.
My question, though, is, Coach, this week are we going to see a lot more mixture in the backfield again to keep guys more fresh? It's getting later in the year. Guys are starting. I mean, whether anybody likes to admit it or not, guys are starting to wear down a little bit. It's a long season. So we're going to see a more mixture in the backfield to keep everybody a little bit fresh.
Yeah, especially, you mentioned Grant and how hard he plays, but, his size is a big factor too, because it's not just that he plays running back and then goes and plays corner or something. He's a backer too. So he's getting banged on every single play, because, if he's not running it, he's in the block and lead block for Hayden, or if it's a pass, up a blitz that, all these weeks. So he's taking a lot of beating, and we got to protect him. And all three of those guys can run the ball, so there's no reason not to spread the love a little bit.
Yeah.
So on the road this week.
Yep.
Back home next week, and then on the road. You've been road warriors.
Yeah.
3 big wins on the road this year. Let's keep that going. Let's keep that road train going. What do you say?
Yeah, the kids have been just great road warriors this year. So, if we can get the 4-0 on the road this week, be the biggest road win we've had yet. And, again, you talk about the character of the kids, just part of their character, just tough, gritty kids. And I like playing on the road, and that's fine with me.
Well, I'll tell you what will help, Coach, and since they're road warriors, just throw some spikes on the shoulder pads.
Yeah. I thought of that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Legion of Doom. Yeah. That's right.
That'd be great. But, Coach, we wish you luck Friday night. We thank you, as always, for joining us, but we can't leave without a prediction from Link.
There he is.
Link. Oh, but hold on. For Link, we'll get your prediction. And there's one more thing I want to talk to Coach Tackitt about.
Yep.
So, Link, what's your prediction this week for the Wolves and Newton Eagles?
20-16.
20-16, a tight one.
Oh, it is.
Tight one. Nothing wrong with that. That's what she said. So, Coach Tackitt, just thought I'd ask you, how'd your Cowboys do this weekend?
Oh.
Last night.
No, we got noises now.
That's like we were me and Link were watching the game together, and Dak's first little interception, he had the little smart aleck grin on his face. About wanted to punch him. And then didn't get any better from there, so I just left the house and went to the football field and picked up trash.
Oh, time to get away. Good for you.
And I knew last night, laying in bed, I thought, I got the interview tomorrow. And my second thought was, Cowboys lost, so Keith's going to mention it. So
he sure did.
I just like rubbing it in.
Hey, good thing they got the Jets next week.
Oh, wow, that heals all
JTS.
wounds. Yeah.
Yeah, that team's not very good whatsoever.
No.
Le'Veon, thanks. Here's your free money. But
Yeah.
anyway, Coach, anything else you want to add here before we let you go tonight?
No, I'm good. I think so.
Well, we thank you for allowing us.
Yeah.
Once again, we thank the Booster Club. We thank Athletic Director Bobby McNeely, you and your entire staff, which were fantastic. We thank everybody who tuned into the show to listen to us do caller in the broadcast. And as I said, we'll have it up here this week so everybody can listen back to it. And
Good.
you know, we got a lot of thanks to you and your staff and everybody and you being on this show, Coach. Though we got a lot of positive feedback last Friday night from a lot of people, and we appreciate that more than anything.
Well, like I've told you, there's a lot of people here that mention the show week to week, and I got a lot of listeners down here. So keep doing what you do. We appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you as well. Good luck Friday night in Newton. I'll be listening, and hopefully we can bring home another road win. You know why? Oh, what a rush. Coach Brian Tackitt, the Flora Wolves on the road at Newton Eagles, trying to go to 5-2 this week. We're going to take a quick break and come back, and we'll close the show with a little fun for Mr. Sam Erwin tonight. You're listening to the Behind the Mic show from the Cheap Seats Sports Bar and Grill.
Check out the all-new Ford of Tuscola. It's a small-town feel with great big deals. Pre-owned vehicles starting at $24.95. Online at FordofTuscola.com or call 217-253-3353.
Welcome back, everybody, Behind the Mic show as we wrap up this week's episode. Keith Gibson alongside Sam Erwin. Sam, we've talked is cheerleading a sport. We've talked about individual awards and team sports. The Bears quarterback situation, college football, wrestling. We've talked with Coach Brian Tackitt on a Friday Night Mike segment. Only coach we got this week. A lot of coaches busy and going on, and a lot of things going on in our world as well. So a great show so far. We want to remind everybody that Saturday morning, 7 a.m., Lot 47, Memorial Stadium, the Behind the Mic show tailgate party.
Yes. Come one, come all. Should be a lot of fun. We'll be making some adult beverages, perhaps some Bloody Marys. We might have, Crown Salted Caramels, really good warm apple cider. So some nice warm drinks. And since it's going to be like 34 degrees at that point in time, so
it's going to be chilly. We'll have some bagels, have some donuts. There'll be some Captain. I believe this is all stuff that you sell too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Imagine
coincidence.
So, hey, that's weird. Some Spirit off, perhaps. Yeah, there's all sorts of things.
But we'll have some other. I'll have some water there too. But feel free to stop by whether it's for a half hour, for a cocktail, for even if you just want to come by and get a donut. Come by and see us. We'll be happy to have you there. We'll do a live show. Myself, you, and downtown Bosco, the world champ.
We might have some guests filtering in and out from time to time.
Right. You never know who's going to pop in. We'll be there all day. We aren't going to the game, so we're going to sit out and listen to the game via radio. We'll listen to Brian Barnhart call the game and have a good time and just enjoy the sights and sounds of Memorial Stadium.
That's right.
And us. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Well, yeah, given.
But, Sammy, anything else? I want you to be careful on your drive up.
No, I can't think of anything. Just looking forward to the weekend and probably maybe hit a haunted house or two on Friday night because it is that time of year. So you're more than welcome to come along.
Well, I'm going to have to load everything up. I got to get the grill loaded up, and downtown's here, and Mama's coming up Friday night. So spend a little time with them as well.
That's true. And I might slide by your house on Friday if you need some help loading things up. Get ready. Just let me know.
Hey, I always love it when you slide in.
Yeah, right.
That's what she said.
Yeah. So
anyway, hey, the big surprise. I told everybody I had a big surprise for you as we close the show. Are you ready?
I think so.
You can come on the show next week.
Oh my God!
You're here for another week. That's my big surprise. You can stay around.
Because my contract ended after 22 episodes. I was like, man, I don't know if I'm done or not. But yeah, so is a new contract coming, or we just take it kind of week by week?
We're gonna go week by week.
Okay,
on a week by week basis.
Right,
kind of like day to day, week by week.
Yeah, just like Coach Tackitt. You don't want to look ahead. Just take it day by day, week by week. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. All right. Whew, man. Okay, that is a good surprise.
Hey, one thing I do want to close out is thank you to our sponsors who allowed us to do the broadcast last Friday. Car Corral Polaris, MyMax Detailing, Lisa Ehrbacher Country Financial, SIWI, Katie Burmeister, Back to Action Chiropractic, and Ford of Tuscola. Thank you. Thank you. That game will be up this week for everybody to listen to if you want to and hear the greatness of Sam Erwin and I calling a football game.
Well, I think you were pretty good. I just did what I could.
Hey, you were great. You were great.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what people say about that.
But anyway,
no, we did get some good feedback from the people that were listening live. We got some good feedback about it. They were actually enjoyed it. They could follow the game, and they said it was a lot like listening to this show, but during the football game as well. So
that's what we like to do.
Hey, win-win.
That's right. So, hey, come join us Saturday morning, 7 a.m. We're there until 4 or 5. We'll be out in Lot 47 all day long as tailgate party for the Fighting Illini versus the Michigan Wolverines. For my co-host, Sam Erwin, I am Keith Gibson. This has been the Behind the Mic Show from the Cheap Seats Sports Bar and Grill.
One tree or a dozen, large estate or small corner lot, whatever you call home. When you have trees that need professional care, that means calling Bees Trees. Greg Miller, owner and operator of Bees Trees, is an IHSA certified arborist. Bees Trees offers tree removal, trimming, and free estimates. They're fully licensed and fully insured. Call Bees Trees today to find out how they can keep your trees healthy and thriving. Call 217-260-4551 to schedule an appointment with Bees Trees.